गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरु साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः. We are in Jnaneshwari, chapter 10, verse number 3, and here we are seeing that this chapter is having two parallel themes, one of yoga and one of vibhuti. What is yoga? Union. And what is vibhuti? The expression, the manifestation. So continuously throughout this journey in chapter 10, our attention will be brought to the union which is already there, or how to bring it about, both ways. That it is already there has already been told in chapter 9, 4th and 5th verses, chapter 7. Those chapters and those verses were much subtler, much more contemplative than chapter 10. So how, by coming back to the self, by coming back to the source, by coming back, by having the union with our essential nature, when we look out, then what is there? Then it will be seen that everything is nothing but the manifestation of the divine. So that Ishvara, who is the material cause and the efficient cause of the whole universe, similarly this Atma, Ishvara is in totality, Paramatma is one without a second, Atma is at the individual level. We are saying the consciousness which is appearing or which is making this matter equipment sentient is the Atma, and that Atma is not other than Paramatma. But can you see that this Atma, the more you keep thinking about it, the more you contemplate on this Atma, the more you accept that you are this Atma, to that extent your vision of how you interact with your thoughts, how you perceive your speech, how you perceive your actions, it will go through a transformation. Right now, how do you say, I am thinking, I am speaking, I am doing the actions. You say, oh, I shouldn't have done that, I should have done this. I shouldn't have thought that, I should not have thought this. Oh, this is a very ugly thought. Oh, this is a very beautiful thought. Oh, wow, how beautiful this expression came. Where did it come from? I don't know. Oh, but next one, what ugly expression? I don't know. I'm not finding words to express. So you are taking ownership. But the more we come to recognize that we are the Atma, then will you take ownership of the thought, word and deed? Will you take ownership? Does Atma take the ownership of thoughts, words and deeds? No. So the more we recognize ourselves as the essence, our take on the equipment, and through that equipment, this equipment, body, breath, mind, intellect, through this equipment, our interaction with the whole entire universe will transform. It will change. As long as we are in the mind, as the mind, thinking ourselves to be an individual, our interaction is what it is going on right now. But once we start accepting and abiding in the self, because that is our true nature, that is what I really am, then I'll see that these thoughts are the vibhuti of the Atma. The speech is the vibhuti of the Atma. The actions are the vibhuti of the Atma. Body, breath, mind, intellect are the vibhuti of the Atma. Space, air, fire, water, earth. Then whenever you take Mithyatma or you take the Gaunatma, yeah, they are all the vibhuti. They are the natural, spontaneous manifestations of this Atma that I essentially am. Then will you fight with anything? Then will you fight, I don't want to be the father, mother, daughter, sister, I want to be the Atma. Arey, just accept and see this as its vibhuti. A different take. But this will become concretized, this vision will be presented to you only when you are focusing on the self. So here in this, and when we are moving around in the self, if you are not able to do that, then can I keep looking at the world and see the Lord somewhere? Either here it is told that either you see all the forms as me, all the names and forms as me, the Lord is saying. Or, so you see that I am expressing as all the names and forms. If you are not able to do that, then you take one specific thing. You take Ganges among all the rivers to be my expression. You take Vatavriksha among all the trees, you take the banyan tree to be me, not even my expression, to be me. You take among all the men, you take Arjuna to be me. See? In this way, there will be 60, 70 examples taken, and he will bring your attention to those aspects in the creation where if we train our mind to see like that, then it will benefit us. So in the first verse, it was told, O Mahabaho. See, here also you see how it is told. The verse went, Bhuya eva Mahabaho, Shrunu me paramam vachaha. Mahabaho. Now Arjuna is one. Mahabaho means what? The mighty armed. Is that Arjuna or is that the vibhuti of Arjuna? Huh? When we say intelligent child, child is the substratum or is the base, is the common factor. But intelligence is his vibhuti. Smartness is his vibhuti. He's a great sportsman. Let sports be, whatever his ability is that child is expressing is his vibhuti. What are you expressing in life out of yourself? Or what is that which is expressing out of you? Then in the same vein, if we take everything, then that will be also the vibhuti, isn't it? This vision has to be, this awareness has to be maintained. That at a subjective level, that the thoughts, words and deeds all are vibhuti of the Atma. So at an individual level, thought, word and deed are the vibhuti of the Atma. At the totality level, all the thoughts of all the minds, past, present, future, and all the words of all the mouths, past, present, future, and all the deeds of all the bodies of past, present, future are the vibhuti of the Paramatma or the Ishwar. See? Of the totality. So once we take this, we interact with information in this way, with ourselves in this way, that whatever I am thinking, whatever I am talking, whatever I am doing, or that is taking place at these three levels, is the potential that is inherent within the conscious self, which is expressing as this, thoughts, words and deeds, then will I fight the thoughts? Will I fight the words? Will I fight the deeds? Will I try to get away from the thought, word and deed and try to come to the Atma? Will I? And yet it was told, chapter 6 was withdraw your senses, withdraw your mind. It was told. But now we are going through expansion. Only by coming to the self can the expansion of the vision come about. By thinking about the world, expansion of the consciousness or expansion of the mind is not possible. Expansion of the vision is not possible. Only by coming to the self. Because self is of the nature of grace. Self is of the nature of love. And if that self is expressing as thoughts, words and deeds, then will I have hatred towards my thoughts, words and deeds? Does water have hatred towards the tsunami waves and the gentle waves? It accepts as it is, isn't it? This is another way, yet another way to dissolve the individuality. That is why we are studying Bhagavad Gita. To dissolve the individuality, and in its place, the infinity starts expressing, or the divine starts expressing. So here it was told, भूय एव महाबाहो शृणु मे परमं वचः यत्ते हम प्रियमाणाय वक्ष्यामि हितकाम्यया. And it was very clearly told. He said once again, O mighty armed Arjuna, Mahabaho, listen to my supreme utterance, which desiring your good, I shall speak to you who are pleased with it. So, shunu me paramam vachaha, listen to my highest speech, listen to my bestest speech. When does the best speech come out of your mouth? When do you speak very nice to someone?
When you have love for it.
When you have?
Love for it.
Yes. When you have even more, it will be when it is unconditional love, not just that much. Yes, we speak nicely when we want something also from someone. जब कुछ अपनी दाल पकानी होती है तो we speak nicely. You are so great, you are so wonderful. We do archana like this only to the Lord. 108 names, धाड़ 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 मार दिए, उसके बाद लंबी लिस्ट प्रेजेंट कर दे. We present him the big list. So when does the bestest of speech comes out? When you have love, unconditional love for someone. And whom will you have unconditional love towards? Who is reciprocating the same towards you, isn't it? And sometimes that person may or may not reciprocate, yet you are automatically drawn, automatically you want to do something for that person, even if you don't know that person, isn't it? Sometimes it happens. But here Krishna Bhagavan is saying, Yatteham priyamanaya, because vakshami hitakamyaya, because you are listening to my words, you are hanging on to every word that is popping out of my mouth. And that you are not hanging on to Vijay acha bol rahe to bolne do, nahi. With great inspiration, great focus, great faith, you are hanging on to every word. You are in such a fantastic disposition that I want to give you more and more. And therefore, vakshyami hitakamyaya. I want to tell you, even if you don't want, I want to pour myself out into you. Because I want, in my heart, the feeling has aroused to do something good for you. Hitakamyaya. A desire has born in my heart to give you this knowledge and I cannot stop it. कभी हम छोटे बच्चे को देखते हैं, small kid, we just don't look at parents, just hug. Sometimes when you are in the shopping center, I just can't stop if some child is going, जाके सर के ऊपर यूँ करके निकल जाओ. Oh, या मम्मी को बोलो हाँ what is this name, this, that, टच करने का जी करता है ना. Who is that child to me? Nobody. But you just get attracted. Not to all the children, to some. Why it happens? There is no reason. It happens. So Krishna Bhagwan is also, he's feeling that I must give him, even he wants or he doesn't want, but I feel like. And just to qualify that, he says, because you are hanging on to every word of mine, you are listening with so much open mind, and your eyes are all, in wonderment with listening to this knowledge, and you are listening correctly, and you are asking pertinent questions. That means you are contemplating on what I have been saying. It's not just acha chala lage raho. Not like that. Greatness of speech is always directly proportional to, I'm asking, the greatness of speech is always directly proportional to?
Unconditional love.
Huh?
Unconditional love.
Okay, what else?
Connection to divinity.
Connection to divinity. The greater the theme, the greater the topic of discussion, contemplation, greater will be the speech that comes out of your mouth. Isn't it? Greater the topic, the more diviner the topic, the more esoteric the topic, the more great the topic, the greater the speech. And in this way, coming to the second verse, it was told, Name vidu suraganaha prabhavam na maharshayaha ahamadir hi devanam maharshinam cha sarvashaha. In the second verse it was told, the host of celestial beings do not know me. My origin, do not know my origin, nor do the great seers. I am the origin of the celestial beings and of all the great seers. And in this, as we told you last time also, in Taittiriya Upanishad also something similar comes. There it says, Yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasa saha. This we told, I think we talked about it in the last class, that Keno Upanishad is also about this only. All the gods, they just defeated who? Indra Bhagwan, Agni Devta, Varuna Devta, Ashwini Devta, Surya Devta, and all the Mrityu Devta. All of them have they are in the heaven, and they have just defeated the Asuras. And when they come back, each one is boasting. I killed so many. The other one says, I killed more. When Agni says, I killed more, Vayu Devta says, what? I saw you. You are only functional only in that area. Look, me, I was like at the speed of thought, I was running around everywhere and destroying the enemies. And this way they were comparing to each other and boasting that because of our prowess, because of our efforts, the success has come to the Devas. This is how we also do it, isn't it? And at that time, when the ego was reaching its heights, suddenly in the Akash, suddenly one sound came. Acha, if you think you have done everything, come and destroy this blade of grass. Let me see who's more powerful. And in that huffed up pride, one by one, everyone goes and tries to, the water goes, tries to wet and freeze and destroy the blade of grass. It's not able to. Then the fire god goes, he tries to burn it, he can't burn it. Then the air god goes, Pavana Devata goes, he tries to dry it, he cannot dry it. All the other gods, They all try to finish that blade of grass, but the blade of grass is jyon ka tyon. Doesn't move, not even one scratch. And they all come back one by one and tell Indra, and with that, as everyone is coming back, their pride is getting annihilated, destroyed, dissolved. And then eventually, Acha, none of you, I will go. Because Indra Bhagwan has the Vajra. He says, I'll go. And he goes there. And the moment Indra Bhagwan comes, he is able to just observe it just for a fraction of a second, and the blade of grass vanishes from there. And he says, who is this person who is wielding this blade of grass? You must be someone great. Otherwise, all my, various demigods have come and tried to destroy, it has not. I bow. This is the greatness of Indra. Whenever he is in trouble, he surrenders. He surrenders. So he surrenders. And when he surrenders, the knowledge is revealed. This is Kena Upanishad. So, who are these gods? Who are these devas? Last time we told you, Surya Devata, Chandra Devata, Hara, Shiva, Vishnu, Brahmaji, and different gods are placed in different parts of the body, as I told when we were doing that last class. And in this way, all these gods, what are they? Another way of expressing them is their productive potential behind that particular organ. So what is the productive potential, the vision potential behind the right eye? It is called the sun god. What is the vision potential behind the left eye? It is the moon god. What is the potential because of which speech is able to come out? The fire god, not Saraswati, fire god. Saraswati is knowledge, but this is the fire god. Without Agni, speech cannot come. Agni is a presentation of speech. The first. Then same way with Ashwini Kumars at the nostrils, Varuna Devata at the ears, and so on and so forth. All these demigods, they have only limited potential. Their boss is Indra Bhagwan. Even Indra is only the boss of the heavens. How can he come to know the Paramatma? When your potential is only limited, how can you come to know the unlimited? So here Sri Krishna Bhagavan is saying that all these devas, they are my vibhuti. They are my manifestations, and they can never come to know me. The rule is, yesterday I told them in the Panchadashi class, every effect must have a cause. We have done this before. Every effect must have a cause. Second rule, cause itself must expresses as many effects. Okay? But there is one more addition to that. After expressing as many effects, the cause ceases to be is not seen anywhere. Is not seen anywhere. But gold is the cause, ornament is the effect. What do you look at? Ornament. Gold is there, but it is hidden behind the form, isn't it? The ocean is there, but it is hidden behind the wave. It seems that way. So, effect can never ever come to know the cause. So therefore, gods can never come to know the cause. Through your senses, sense organs, you can never come to know the Atma that you are. And among the senses, what is the subtlest? What is the finest sense? Tell. What is the finest sense? From seeing, hearing, touching, feeling, tasting? Huh?
Hearing.
Hmm?
Hearing? the last sense to go.
Okay.
Smell.
हाँ
Smell.
See.
सारे बोल दिए, फायदा क्या है? इसके लिए थोड़े क्या बोलते हैं, दिमाग में खिचड़ी पकानी पड़ती है, उसको कॉन्टम्पलेशन बोलते हैं. तुमको हाउ मेनी टाइम्स वी हैव सेड द होल वर्ल्ड इज मेड अप ऑफ व्हाट? स्पेस, एयर, फायर, वाटर, अर्थ. व्हाट इज द क्वालिटी ऑफ स्पेस? Quality of space, sound. What is the quality of air? What is the quality of air? Touch, feeling. Plus, it borrows the quality of its boss, its cause, the space, the sound. What is next? Out of fire, out of air comes fire. What is the quality of fire? Its own property. What is it? Heat and light, but also form. Air has got no form, space has got no form. Fire has a form. It has a shape. That is the first place the form appears. So its own quality is form, and it borrows the feeling, the touch, it is hot, and it borrows the sound, the crackling sound of the fire. Then from fire comes water. What is the quality of the water? Its own quality, the lipidity or the wetness, the fluidity, whatever. Huh? No, not touch, taste. Without water you cannot have taste. Impossible. And it borrows the form from the fire, it borrows the feeling from the air, and it borrows the sound from the space. It's not that it is borrowing, but in the space, without space can you have water? Without air can you have water? Without fire can you have water? Yes, in a general sense, yes, but when you look at it technically, not. And therefore, those qualities are already inherent within the water. But its own quality is the taste. And what is the quality of the earth? Smell. And smell is water. Earth is the product of water. Out of water it came out. And it has all the other qualities of the four elements. It's already present in the earth. But its own quality is earth. So what is now these five elements with these qualities? These are the five senses. What is the earth expressing in your body as? Nose, the smell, fragrance. What is the water expressing as? So if water is out there, you must have a faculty. This is the beauty of the creation. That something should be there to taste what has been created. The tongue. For the form, the eyes. For the feeling, the skin. The skin. For the touch, the skin. Not the heart. This is the physical touch we are talking about. And for the sound,
Ear.
the ears.
Subtlest is the ear.
So which is the subtlest then?
Ear. Hearing.
Hearing is the subtlest. Yes, he was. But if I just said yes and continued, then this, even though it has to be heard many times, I will keep repeating it, I will keep asking, but only the day you interact with it without bringing yourself in between, it will stay. To get to this space is our Vaikhari Madhyama Pashyanti Para. When we reach Para, the space. See? So we are, through the speech, we are going back to the source, to the space. Everything is connected if you start, but you have to take the higher vision. You can't keep thinking as an individual. If you keep thinking as an individual, you will be stuck in the body only. You can't think beyond body. You have to think of the totality. The Lord is giving here, the Vibhuti Yoga is about the totality. that this whole entire cosmos is my vibhuti. And where is the Lord? Where is the water? Or where, when we talk about it, the Lord here, Shri Krishna, he is talking as the he is the Paramatma also, he is the Ishvara also, and he is appearing as a human being also among the among the mortals, isn't it? He has taken a form. So the water is infinite also, water is ocean also, and water is taking a form of a wave also, isn't it? See? So here the Lord says, these gods, these potentialities, these manifestations of mine, which are limited, they are a product of parameters. They cannot come to know the infinite that I am. They cannot come to know the infinite I am. But how, you are also practicing, if you are practicing Om Sadhana, then if you are going Vaikhari Madhyama Pashyanti Para, is the sound not stopping so that you can be you? Isn't it? Is the sound, the vibration of the sound, is it not going back into its own source in order for you to get into samadhi or to have the vision of, to be in union with yourself? The sound has to vanish at one level, yes. See? And the second part is that my origin, the celestial beings do not know my origin, nor do the seers. Who are the seers? The various rishis and the various, the Atri Rishi, the Bhardwaj Rishi, the Bhrigu Rishi, the etc. etc. Who are these? These are nothing but the thoughts in our minds. They are the root thoughts because of which we express in a particular way, we find ourselves pulled towards a particular or think in a particular way. There are so many different philosophies there, isn't it? If you today you go Bhrigu Samhita, people are showing Bhrigu Samhita, they can tell you the past and they can tell you the future. There is Nadi Shastra, that is also a script, one type of scripture only. There are Vedas, there are Puranas, there are life histories of Mahatmas, there are words, speeches of Mahatmas which have come into as books. But which one do you get attracted to? Do you try to read everything that is there? Do you try to read everything that is there? Or you experiment with some and suddenly something just catches your imagination and you want to stick with that, isn't it? You speak in a particular way. Either you are straightforward or you are manipulative or you are, emotional. So these various rishis that were there, that is why we all get the various gotras. So what is that gotra? You belong to that particular rishi. So you are given a hook that you belong to that. You may not know who Atri is, but he is your first. You are in that lineage. Who is this Atri? Who was married to Anusuya. Who is Anusuya? Who is never jealous of anyone. Suya means jealousy. Anasuya means who has got not even an iota of jealousy. Atri means a plus 3. The one who is beyond the Sattva Rajas Tamas. Hello. Therefore, he who is beyond Sattva Rajas Tamas and he who is married to a person who has got not even an iota of jealousy or hatred in her heart, to such a person Dattatreya Bhagavan is born, comes as child. See? So who is this? Oh, I am belonging to that lineage. I am belonging to Atri, in which Dattatreya was born. Oh, just once, the first time you come to know, you may not know all this information behind, but you must have heard it. In childhood, you must have heard it. Then you read the Amar Chitra Katha, you read the various Puranas, you listen to some satsangs, and somewhere suddenly it clicks. Oh my God, I belong to that Rishi. Such great things he did. And you feel everyone wants to hold on to something, because there are many times in life that challenges come and we lose the plot. At that time, what is your support? We haven't seen God. It is only the memories. And what are the memories? Of these type. That I belong to such a great lineage. Then if you know their stories and you are focused on them and you have imbibed them within you, then that strength is invoked at the time of challenge. See? So these rishis, they are various subtle base thoughts within our mind. And here the Lord is saying, even the rishis cannot come to know me. Yato vacho nivartante, the words also, the speech also returns without having come to know who, because of whom am I expressing? Whose manifestation am I? It cannot come to know. Then how will it come to know? And yet it will tell afterwards, or in the next verse. Gods can come to know me, the rishis can come to know me. How? Only by being one with me. This is yoga. So how will you come to know yourself if you keep thinking? No, as long as you are having a thought, as long as you are functioning through the mind and trying to search the self, the Lord, through the mind, the Lord is far away. The Lord is far away. But if you want to make the use of the speech, use it, but understand the technology behind it. That speech must go through Vaikhari Madhyama Pashyanti Para. If it doesn't go, it's not becoming subtler and subtler and subtler, finer and finer and finer, union will not come about. Even though union is all the time present with the divine, because the wave is always in union with the waters, you are also always in union with the divine, but there is no clarity, there is no direct experience of it. Why? Because the mind is coming in between. The day mind goes out of the equation, meaning you stop giving importance to the mind and just be, union is already there. So this is the thought. And then in the third verse, today, Yo mam ajamanadim cha vetti lokamaheshwaram asammudha samartyeshu sarva papai pramuchyate. He says, he who knows me as the unborn, beginningless, supreme Lord of the world, he is undeluded among the mortals and is liberated from all sins. To whom is he talking about? He is talking about all the rishis and the Mahatmas. In fact, all the beings. All the sentient beings, if they know me as the unborn, beginningless, supreme Lord of the world, because our experience of the world, we don't have to look at every damn thing in this world. How do you know the whole world? Through your mind. So analyze your mind. Is any thought that is appearing in your mind infinite, or is it finite? Finite. Is any thought beginningless or the thought that is appearing in your mind has a beginning, it stays there for some time, and then it ends. So is true for the entire world. And what is the Lord? He's saying, I am unborn, I am eternal, huh? I am a beginningless, that is, there is nothing before me. There is no cause of the Lord. Lord is causeless existence. There is no reason for the Lord to be. For an ornament, yes, there is a reason. The gold is the cause. And if you keep digressing, so the cause of earth is water, or cause of water is fire, cause of fire is air, cause of air is space, the total space, the gross space. The cause of gross space is the mental space. The cause of mental space is the conscious space. Now, what is the cause of conscious space? There is no cause of conscious space. Conscious space is. You have to stop somewhere. There is no end otherwise. Sometimes when you stand in between two mirrors, have you ever tried as a kid in Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan, you stand between the two mirrors, what do you see? Infinite, endless images of yourself. Endless. And you start 1, 2, 3, 4, and you keep going. There is no end. Is it that they all began from somewhere far away? Then where did they begin from? From you. See? So we have to stop somewhere. So we have to stop at us. I am the source of all these vibhutis that are coming in the mirrors. So this conscious space is the one. What is the cause of conscious space? There is no answer to that. You are that. Story over. So Jnaneshwar Maharaj says here, Te taraho nithaya thike swaprakashe chokhe ajatva माझे देखे आपुलिया डोळा मी आदिसी परू सकळ लोक महेश्वरू ऐसिया माते जो नरू या परी जाणे तोष पाषाणा माझी परिसू जैसा रसा आंदू सिद्धरसू तैसा मनुष्यांतू तो अंशू माझाची जाण ते चालते ज्ञानाचे बिंब तयाचे अवयव ते सुखाचे कोंभ ये रमाणू सपणते भाव लौकिक भागू अगा अवचिता कापुरा माझी सापडला हिरा वरी पडिलिया नीरा न निगे केवी तैसा मनुष्य लोकांतू तो जरी जाहला प्राकृतू तर ही प्रकृती दोषाची मातू नेण्याची की तो आपसयेची सांडिजे पापी जैसा जळत चंदनू सर्पी ते विमाते जाणे तो संकल्पी वर्जुनी घापे. He says, I might as well read the two more verses are there, ovis are there. तेची अमुत आमुते कैसे जाणिजे ऐसे कल्पी जरी चित्त तुझे तरी मी ऐसा हे माझे भाव एके जे वेगळालिया भूती सारिखे होऊनी प्रकृती विखुरले आहे ती त्रिजगती आघविये. He says, Jnaneshwar Maharaj says, and who in this frame of mind sees my beginningless nature in the clear light of self-knowledge, he knows that I am the great Lord of all beings beyond causation. Beyond causation, causeless existence. There is no, because of something the Lord has come, because of something the conscious space has come, because of something the infinite reality has come. No. It is self-existing. Everything else other than that reality has a cause. And what is the cause? The infinite. Because everything is his vibhuti only. But if everything is he only, then how can he be the cause? We are also saying the same thing. How can he be? Everything is that one, but you are not ready to see everything as one, so we have to speak to you in this language. We are also saying that everything is one. The Lord is also saying everything is one. If there is one, there is no requirement of speech. Yet speech is there, as is vibhuti. The unstruck sound. What was the first speech? Om. Then Om became the vowels. Then from the Om came the consonants. See, consonants cannot exist by themselves. So consonants got married to or borrowed support from the vowels, and then consonants they became concretized. And then consonants combined with consonants to form words. Then each word, for example, kursi. So kursi, it is a combination of ka plus u plus ra plus si, three parts together. Now, what is kursi? A chair. So if there is a word, if the word has formed, its manifestation, what it represents, must be already present. See? So therefore in our scriptures it said, knowledge does not create anything new. It only reveals what is already existing. Knowledge does not create anything new. Einstein did not create E is equal to mc square. He only proved throughout his life how that was already there. Did he create the energy? Did he create the destruction? Did he create the mass? That mass converts into energy on destruction, and energy itself appears as mass in contraction or when it is frozen in time. And when the mass gets destroyed, a humongous energy is released. Or all that. How to prove that about was his whole life purpose. He had a vision. But if he had that vision, a knowingness, he did not create that. He does not say that. If you read his biography, he doesn't say that. He says it was a revelation. It was a revelation. So this Paramatma is beyond causation. The Lord says, the one who knows me as beginningless, unborn. If he is beginningless, think about it. If he is beginningless, can we give him a form? Can he give him his birth date? Can we give birth date? Krishna Kanhaiya, Janmashtami, Shivratri, गणेश जयंती भी होता है, दत्तात्रेय जयंती होती है. This is all, if you take it as Leela, enjoy. But if you become so serious, oh my God, today is Shivratri and I did not fast and blah blah blah, पाप चढ़ेगा, गए काम से. You have dug a hole for yourself. Don't get caught up anywhere. Because everything is that only. But live, then every aspect of your life must be pervaded with that background thought that everything is that Paramatma alone. And live that way then. Don't insist anywhere. So here Jnaneshwar Maharaj says, explaining the Lord Krishna's words, like a philosopher's stone, like a philosopher's stone among stones, nectar among liquids, He is a part of my divine essence amongst all mortals. Who is this he talking about? That he is the philosopher's stone among all stones, the great Mahatma. Who is that Mahatma? The one who knows the Lord as unborn and beginningless reality. That fellow. He is nectar among liquids. He is a part of my divine essence. From him, why is he part of my divine essence? Everywhere the Lord is, but because he has got no individuality, he becomes an empty vessel for that divinity to express abundantly. That's all. We have to make ourselves in that manner. We have to become empty. Empty means no insistence. Empty means no duragraha. Agraha you all understand? Huh?
Yes.
इंसिस्टेंस जब खाना खाते हैं आग्रह का एक और लड्डू ले लो बोलते हैं ना दुराग्रह एक्सट्रीम इंसिस्टेंस स्टबन इंसिस्टेंस नहीं मैं दे रही हूँ तो खाओगे कैसे नहीं लेना ही पड़ेगा और वो कह रहा है यार मैं मर जाऊंगा अगर शुगर मेरा बढ़ जाएगा नहीं खाना पड़ेगा प्रसाद है मैंने बनाया अपने हाथ से आई हैव मेड इट यू हैव टू ईट इट एक्सट्रीम इंसिस्टेंस by this reality, Lord does everything effortlessly. Everything. He doesn't create, he doesn't move through the world. Even Krishna Bhagavan, when he moved through while he was manifesting on earth and he was the kingmaker and he did so many things, killed Jarasan, killed Shishupal, etc., but not an iota of guilt. Not an iota of stress or strain. His all his sons, Balram, etc., not Balram, Balramji went away, all his sons, they all killed each other. All his subjects in Dwarka killed each other. But not one iota of remorse in the Lord. Why? Because he knows he is ever complete. Does ocean cry because of the waves have died? Does gold cry because ornaments have been melted? Or does he become excited when the ornaments come out of him? Doesn't, no. He is ever the same. The Lord is also ever the same. If this is the way to know him, then start being that. Go through life without any friction. Go through life without any likes and dislikes. Go through life, interact with people, communicate with people and experiences without precipitating an impression. If you remain in neutral while moving around in the world, no impression will be created. Even if you are in a half a gear or a quarter gear, forward or backward, heat is generated. Power is generated. In neutral, no power is generated. You are wherever you are. No movement in neutral. Little bit and the movement begins. What is that movement that I am talking about? Mind. Mind is the movement. The flow of thoughts is the movement. If you remain in neutral, you will be neutral to the thoughts also. Let them come and go, who cares? But if you take ownership, if you give them attention, if you give them value, immediately stress and strain. Jnaneshwar Maharaj says that who are these Mahatmas, these men of wisdom who see me as unborn and who see me as the beginningless reality? They are the philosopher's stone among stones, they are the nectar among all the liquids, and they have got no agenda of their own. They have got no agenda. They are empty vessels. And that is why they are dear to me. In the same thing is told in devotion. जैसे राखे राखे राम तैसे विधि रहिए. So such a person who is totally surrendered to the divine, forever in his mind only the divine thought is, the mantra is going on. He doesn't try to achieve something. If any challenges come, he just keeps offering it at the feet of the Lord, because you are my savior, you are expressing through me as me. I don't want to take any ownership, I don't want to take any responsibility. But to do this also requires a lot of courage. You see? But when you are able to do it, then everything is a smooth ride. Smooth ride does not mean challenges will not come. Smooth ride means the person who got disturbed on account of challenges is no longer present. In its place, the divinity is expressing. Or that person who was giving attention to the challenges and getting disturbed on account of them, his attention is now on the divine, his attention is on the divine theme, and therefore he is not available to the challenges. And what is the nature of the challenges? They will appear, they will stay for some time, they will go away after some time. Okay? And that is true for every one of us. This he has caught. And therefore, instead of trying to solve situations of life, he holds on to the divine. In the world, there are no solutions, no permanent solutions. Temporary, yes. In the divine, no solutions are required, because the divine is ever complete. Just as a diamond found in camphor does not dissolve in water, although he moves about among men like an ignorant person. Just like a diamond stone is mixed with camphor, you put in water or you put water into that camphor, camphor will melt, but the stone does not melt. Similarly, we all moving around in the world, we are continuously melting away, getting affected by, reacting to the various people, thought, words and deeds of other people. Sometimes we react to our own mind, our own body, so obsessed with our body. But a man of wisdom, he does not get affected by anything in the world, even though people see him as functioning in and through the world. See? And this is possible for every one of us. But this can only come about when the theme of ours is the divine, with the right understanding, not merely chanting. With that chanting, with that japa, with that meditation, clarity and understanding about as to who that divine is, what is his nature, and that his nature is not other than the self that I am, this must become distinctly clear, without any doubt. Although he moves about among men like an ignorant person, he is not tainted by Maya and gets rid of all his sins. Just as a serpent flees from the burning sandalwood tree, so desires leave a person who knows me. See how beautiful? Desires leave the person who knows me. Don't try to overcome the desires. We have to sublimate the desires. For this there are two rules. One is, first, suppress your desires. Suppress. Because we don't know how to sublimate. We don't know how to dissolve our desires. यार मैं क्या करूँ, इधर आते रहते क्या करूँ? You suppress. How do you suppress? Through shama, dama. Control your senses, control your mind. Forcefully you take the name of the Lord so that your mind is on some other theme but on those desires. होता है ना कभी कभी. And once they have been suppressed, you see that they are not expressing themselves anymore because the lid is on. Then with understanding and knowledge, understand, bring about or sublimate, I shouldn't say this is correct, sublimate that suppression. We could not sublimate the desires. So now forcefully we have suppressed the desires. We know it is not right, but we are doing it. And then sublimate the suppression, the thought of suppression, with understanding that why did you do that suppression aspect, part. Like for example, a child is going have a walk in the house and is not coming under control. ये कर, भाग उधर, ये तोड़, वो तोड़, धाड़, तोड़, धाड़. What would you do to that child? You'll catch, next time you will catch him. Suppression.
कुछ मत करो.
कुछ मत करो, छोड़ दो, आग लगा देगा कहीं पे. ये आपका श्रद्धा है ये. You understand what point I am trying to express. So you catch him, so he is not allowed to move. He wants to move, but he is not able to move. So if you fix your mind on breathing, if you fix your mind on Om, if you fix your mind on Japa, you have not realized the divine, but you have fixed it forcefully. You have withdrawn your mind forcefully from everywhere and you put it on a particular theme. That desire is not, it wants to express, but there is no area available for it to express. Why? The entire mind is focused on something, something else. Just like that child, he wants to run away, he wants to break free of your, what you call, the clasp. And once he is under your control, then you try to teach that child that, beta, it's not right, you can hurt yourself. Then, and sometimes we give all this knowledge to that child after he has broken an arm or broken a leg, had an accident. It has to be done before, but that, it was not possible. So you have to, while he is running, acha beta, don't go there, acha beta, don't do this, acha beta, don't do that. He is inspired. Very difficult. How do you make a hyper child to calm down? How do you make a hyperactive mind which is caught up in the world to calm down, to sublimate, to dissolve? There are many different ways. I am just telling you one way. One is suppression and then sublimate the suppression. So first we control. After we are controlled, then we know, understand. Oh, just because my teacher told me, I controlled. But just because like this, it is the right thing to do. But why is it the right thing to do? No, because I want to see how can I do it or not. Then when you stop doing it, again you will go crazy. You see? Again he will go crazy. I used to do, I know someone who used to do this pranayam and all that, and they did pranayam and sadhana, and the drinking stopped, the meat eating stopped, and gambling stopped, and all these things stopped. And when they used to think, I have conquered my vices, and they used to stop doing pranayam within 10 days. Oh, drinking will start, meat eating will start, gambling will start. Again they tried. Again it will go away. Again they stopped. Again it will start again. And this tried few times. And then one day, till now it was not, it was frustrating why it is happening. So through pranayam only suppression, but the problem has not dissolved itself. So where am I going wrong? What is this going on, that person is saying? And then one day, to him, suddenly it clicked that I am trying to control the situation. Why am I doing this? Why am I why do I want to do pranayam? I want to do pranayam because I want to stop drinking and eating meat and gambling, or I want to do pranayam so that I can merge into the divine? That once only it appeared in the mind, that thought of its own accord, that I am doing it for the wrong reason. I want to do pranayam to realize the truth. I don't want to do pranayam. How did I get caught up in this thinking? That drinking needs to be stopped in order to realize. Smoking needs to be stopped in order to realize. Where is it written? If it is meant to stop, it will stop. I must focus only on the divine. See what Sri Krishna has said? That all those people who contemplate only on me and know me as the infinite, unborn, beginningless principle, automatically all the vices drop them. Automatically, Jnaneshwar Maharaj says, all the desires are taken care of. You don't have to worry about it. How to dissolve or how to satisfy. Such are the Mahatmas. And then he says, if the thought has occurred to you, how to know what I am and what the modes of my being are, I shall tell them to you. Listen, my manifestations are spread in different beings in this universe, taking form according to their dispositions. Where is the disposition? Where is the disposition? In the mind, isn't it? So if remember in the 8th chapter, what did they say? How to die? What was the disposition of the person who was about to die? If his disposition of the mind is, suppose I am breathing the last right now. Just now the dog was barking. You heard? You heard?
Yeah.
I also heard. That's why this example is coming. And suppose I was breathing my last and I heard the dog and my mind stuck on the, arey yaar. Instead of on the Lord, it stuck on the dog. Based upon the disposition, manifestation. So, what was the disposition of the mind at the last breath? Wow, wow. What will be the next manifestation? Wow, wow. You don't believe me? Don't believe me. Do your experiment. You don't have to die. Just before going to sleep, think of one thought. And with that thought, you go to sleep. The last breath. Before you lose yourself, your mind gets absorbed. If you are chanting Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, you will wake up with Om Namah Shivaya. If you sleep with 5:15, I must get up, 5:15, you will wake up. If you sleep with the thought of, I have to do this, I have to do that, you will wake up with that thought, I have to do this, I have to do that. This is a temporary death of the mind. This deep sleep is a temporary death. At a larger scale, this body dying, mind going away and again manifesting again. What was the last thought will determine what its next manifestation is going to be. See?
You never die.
You never die. So if you take that position that I am indestructible. And how can I be indestructible? Because now we are in 10th chapter. I am indestructible was told in chapter 7. That was told in chapter 9. But now we have come one step down because we want to experience that the whole world is also divine. See? These are the people, these wise men who focus only on the Lord. So smarter way of overcoming the mind is not by dealing with the mind, challenging the mind, focusing on the thoughts, creating parameters for the thoughts, and feeling, oh, Shivratri, I must go and do the puja here, and Ram Navami, I must go and do the puja there, or I must do this, or do it because that is the right thing to do. Don't do it out of fear. Do it out of the love of the Lord. See? This is the difference between a Mahatma and a ignorant person. Ignorant person does it out of fear. He does it out of guilt because he doesn't want to feel guilty afterwards. अगर मैंने नहीं किया तो पाप चढ़ जाएगा, ये बोलते हैं ना. I mean this because in this the word pap is used. Where is it? We are in the third verse. Sarva papai pramuchyate. Sarva papai pramuchyate. How it is? How do you get released from all the sins? Who gets released from all the sins? The one who is focused on the divine. Now, it is important to know what are the sins. So there's a list. I got a list. How do papas come about? What are sins? Those which are told by our scriptures. So it cannot be our individual decision. If our scriptures say this is a sin, then it is a sin. There is no, अरे scriptures को पता नहीं है, किताब कैसे मेरे को बता सकती है what I have to do in life? ऐसे लोग होते हैं. Some people are there like that. So if you have faith in the scriptures, then we must accept that whatever the scriptures are saying is true. Second, when this is accepted, then the seeker functions under self-accepted discipline that is in maryada. That bond, and what is maryada में रहते हैं ना? Within your limits, within your self-accepted discipline. See? When this is accepted. And what is maryada? That bondage which is joyfully accepted as a freedom. By this we learn to control ourselves for the sake of others, and only then feeling of sacrifice begins from us. Sacrifice for the others. See? So sometimes you want to behave in a particular way, but situation, whatever, the elders are there or the youngsters are there, or you want to slap your child but you're in the shopping center and you can't slap because consequences, the child will be smiling but you will be in the jail. Huh? So that is forced maryada. That is a forced one. But when you feel that it is not the right thing to do, then you will find what is the sacrifice then from the point of view of mothers and fathers. To find ever new ways of disciplining the child, isn't it? Not necessarily force. Pranayam is force. Forcefully doing japa. Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om. I will not allow any other damn thought to come into the mind. Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om. That is force. You are sitting in meditation. That is forceful meditation. It is not relaxed meditation. You will get a headache afterwards. So this is the second. Third point, what is pap? What is sin? That which leaves an impression or vanity or guilt is pap. Any thought, any action, any word, if it leaves a residue behind in a form of guilt, is pap, is a sin.
So some people don't feel like
Say that?
Some people don't feel even in
They may show you that they don't feel.
But from inside they
Ratnakar also did. You know Ratnakar, Valmiki Maharishi? He was a Daku. He was a great murderer. He used to loot and kill all the people in the going through the forest. And he did it in the name of duty towards his family. But when he met Naradji, and when Naradji said, "Is that not wrong?" He says, "Yeah, I know that is wrong. But it is my duty. This is the only profession I know." Are you not encouraging things? Yes, I am encouraging things, but what can I do? I am born in this way. I only know this profession of killing and looting. What can I do? I can't find any other solution to how to take care of my family, and my family demands are increasing day by day. First they were living on a tree, now they want to come under the tree. Then they want me to plant more trees, then they want me to build a hut, then they want sofa, table, chair, house, microwave, everything. Before they could do without anything. Now they want everything and they want more. So I have to commit more sins. He knows that he is doing wrong. Every person, his conscience will tell whether that person is doing, whether he has spoken correctly, whether he has behaved correctly, whether he has thought correctly in his mind. Is it precipitating into a feeling that this is not right? This thinking in this direction is not correct. The way I am thinking is not correct. The way I am speaking is not correct. The way I am behaving with a particular person or society is not correct. Everyone knows it. Everyone knows it. But they have become so cold, they have become so obsessed with it that
Don't want to accept.
they don't want to accept. But if the penny drops, everyone will accept. So here we are not talking about those extreme cases, we are talking about ourselves. These 4-5 points that I am giving are so we recognize how the sins precipitate within ourselves. And it's all at the mental level, it's not at the physical level. Huh? So that which leaves an impression or vanity or guilt is paap. When we claim someone else's property is paap. Duryodhan, mera to mera hai, tera bhi mera hai. Huh? That is paap. That is, we are pure self. See? So one more. When we claim someone else's property, that is paap. So think differently. Duryodhan, my wealth is my wealth, your wealth is also my wealth. And scriptures are telling you are pure self. And you say, no, I am not pure self, I am the body. So, did you create the body? Who created the body? You can say Paramatma or parents. So, whose property is the body? Is it yours or is it the parents?
Not mine.
Answer?
Not mine.
Nobody wants to answer the question. We did not create the body, parents created the body. And you have taken the body to be yours. I am this body.
That itself is sin.
A sin. Thank you, sir. Conclusion is that. This is the sin. That someone else's property, we are calling it our own. And therefore, if this property is not mine, then use this body to serve that. Whose this body is? Like there is no tomorrow. Everything. See? This is sin. There is one more point that is there. ठीक है. Next verse that comes. So with this, the if the thought has occurred to you, how to know that I am, how to know that what I am, that is the Ishvara or the Paramatma or the Atma, I am, and what the modes of my being are, that modes meaning how do I express, the Lord is saying, how do I express as this whole cosmos, this whole creation, if this is contemplated upon, I shall tell them to you, listen, my manifestations are spread in different beings in this universe, taking form according to their dispositions. So, depending upon the sabhav or depending upon the impressions, the various forms the Lord takes. Does Lord have any impressions? No. And in this way, the Lord says, I am the Loka Maheshwara. I alone am expressing as everything in this creation. Everything in this creation cannot be without me, the cause. But there is no cause of mine. But I am the cause of everything. And just like we told you before, cause itself expresses as many effects. The Lord is saying, I alone am expressing as the various aspects of creation. Various aspects of creation. The effect can never come to know the cause. Similarly,